Welcome to today's session. And today we are going to talk about good practices, good communication practice. Excellent public engagement on any topic, be it science or the arts, builds on clear, concise communication. So how do you come up with clear, concise communication? These are some of the good practices that I'm going to share with you. But at the end, I know that you also know and have some good practices that you've been using. We would like to hear from you at the end. My number one good practice is what I call a communication framework. The communication framework involves having a goal first, knowing your audience, developing a message for the audience that serves your goal, and finding the right platform for your message. So this is how the framework runs. Think goal, audience, message, and then platform. Unfortunately, most of us always rush to the platform. Oh, I want to talk to people on Facebook. I want to talk to people on Twitter. And we forget that you must have, what are you going to tell people on Facebook? What is your message? And who told you that the people you want to talk to are on Facebook? In other words, who is your audience? And why are you engaging with your audience? That is the goal. So today I want us to relearn how we've been communicating. Let us desist from starting from the end, that is the platform, but always start from the right beginning, which is goal, audience, message, platform. Just to remind us about that, goal, audience, message, platform. So now let's pivot and talk about goal setting in our communication. A goal is the purpose as to why you're doing something. It is good practice that you set short-term goals and focus more on the short-term goals than on the longer-term goals. Let me give you an example. Usually when we are setting out to communicate, we want the big goals because, you know, they are important and they are the life-changing goals. For instance, you may say that you want to communicate about your science because you want to influence policy. You want countries to start passing policies that are evidence-based and will ensure that farmers get access to biotechnology products. That is good and that is important, but it's too big a goal and you cannot set out and in just one event or an engagement activity you achieve it. So it's advisable that you break your goals into short-term goals and focus on the short-term or the immediate. So let me give you another example on how you can break down your big policy goal. You can have a goal of humanizing scientists. So as you go out to engage with people on Facebook, your immediate goal can be humanizing scientists and developing public interest in your work. So as people get to know about your work, they also attach it to a certain face. That way you're humanizing science and showing a human face to the science that you're doing. And after that, your next goal can then be to build trust between the public and scientists. No one can trust you unless they know you. So that fits into very well with your first short-term goal, remember, which was humanizing scientists or increasing interest in your work. And after they have put a face to your work, then you can build trust, you can build rapport. Good practice number 2 is choose your audience. Be very clear in your mind whom you want to talk with. Remember that goal will influence whom you want to talk with. So let's say you want to humanize, you want to humanize scientists, but at the end of the day, you know that you are working towards a long-term goal of influencing policy. So then you can ask yourself, who in the policy space do I need to develop a relation with? Think about people who are best positioned to help you reach your goal, and think about groups that you already have connections with. And if the people who are best positioned to help you reach your goal are not people within your immediate space, then you can always find people who know those people, which we call net mapping. And later on, we shall talk about audience segmentation in detail and net mapping on how to know exactly whom should I talk with. If I cannot reach them, then who can talk to them on my behalf and things like that. So good practice number 2, know your audience. Practice number 3 is the message. We already know our audience whom we should talk to in order to actualize our goal. But then what are you going to tell them? That is the purpose of the message. So in coming up with your message, it's important that you know the needs and expectations of your audience. This is an area that most of us struggle, whether we are communicators or scientists. We want to share what we are excited about to the audience, forgetting that that may not excite them. Remember that human beings are inherently selfish. We are always interested in what affects our lives or the lives of our immediate communities. So when you're developing your message, always answer one question: so what? Not your own so what, but so what for the audience. Always make sure that you put front and center what's in it for your audience. Good practice number 4 is the platform. Where does your audience hang out? Remember, you have a goal to humanize scientists, okay? And you want to talk to policymakers. You have put your message in place why policymakers should be interested in you first and foremost as a human being. But where on earth does your audience hang out? I know social media is the rage, and while we are developing our communication strategies, everyone wants training on how to use Twitter, on how to use Facebook. But I have good news, or I have bad news for you. You may spend so much time and energy using a platform where your audience actually doesn't hang out. In following the audience message and platform example, after doing your research, you may find that policymakers, by virtue of their age, they are rarely online. So that means however much social media is something that you're interested in, traditional media in this case may be the best platform for you to use. So you need to do your research and find out where your audience hangs out, and then you take the right message to them where they actually are. I would like to introduce to you to something called an inverted pyramid. A pyramid is actually an inverted triangle. So the way you scientists generally communicate your research is the opposite of public communication. In science communication, let's say you're writing a journal article, you start with the background, go in great detail about the methodology, then you give the details, and you finalize with the results and conclusions. But in public engagement, the opposite is true, and hence the inverted pyramid. You start with the results, explain what the results mean, or answer the what's in it for your audience, and you summarize with supporting details. And please keep the supporting details to the very minimal. So just a recap on the inverted pyramid: start with the results, explain what the result means or the so what, and finalize with supporting details. Why it's important that you put the most important information first is that in case someone doesn't finish the story, at least you've gotten your point across. And the most important point is your result and what that result means, not the methodology and other things. But that can be at the end, where an interested reader can read the entire article or listen to a YouTube clip and finish it. And finally, from me, final good communication practice is please remove scientific jargon. I know you have 20 years of experience, 10 years of experience, and you have been talking these terms all your entire life. So you actually don't realize that that's not plain language, it's not plain English. So what most of us do is we just carry this language and go and use it in our public engagement activities. What a jargon does is that it locks out anyone who is not in your field. And when you're communicating to people, you don't want to lock them out. You want to open the doors and let them in. So please do the hard work, do that difficult work of finding a simple day-to-day word that is representative of the scientific word, that is representative of the scientific jargon. So that is it from me, but I know that you have a lot of other good practices. And now over to you. Let us hear what you have experienced as you've been communicating your science.